awesome and exciting day. I wanted to give you guys an update about how Carol is doing. The video of us capturing Carol and bringing her into this into our house and starting this whole falconry journey has exploded, and it's had tons of interest. It's really, really awesome to see people that might be interested in falconry, and we've had lots of questions. So today is an official update on Carol. We're about 2.5 weeks in. She's doing really, really well, pretty much acclimated to us and our dogs and our kids. She still has some little stubborn fits every once in a while when she wants something like food or wants to be sitting somewhere else. But for the most part right now, she's been she's free lofted in her enclosure. She's flying around in our house, and we do a lot of training in our garage, and she's basically to the point now where she will fly to the glove, and she also will kind of hang out. For the most part, she doesn't need to wear that hood anymore unless we were maybe going out somewhere where there's like traffic or dogs or something like that. So it's a good idea to have her trained to use the hood, but I personally don't like to make her wear it. She did it! Yay. Good girl, Carol. Oh, good girl. Today I want to walk you guys through some of the process of taking care of Carol on a day-to-day basis. As you saw in our intro, we're preparing food, we're weighing Carol, keeping really good notes on her weight. So what we do is we keep track of her weights. I measure by the gram. A lot of people measure hocks by the ounce, and I think I'll be converting over to the ounce pretty soon here. But you want to make sure that they're really, really fit. So you weigh them and you get their trapping weight, which is their weight that they were out in the wild. And she had a full crop, so she had eaten a little bit in the wild. December 8th, she was 1,307 grams with her gear on, so her hood and her jesses and anklets and all of that stuff. So I pretty much measure to the same standard. I still put the gear on the scale, and this week I'm going to be measuring all of the gear and figuring out where that is so I can get like her true body weight. This is so crazy. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That was amazing. Good girl, Carol. And part of the reason why we keep track of body weight is because if the bird still has a full stomach, so we say we feed like a really large meal the day before, and she's still processing some of that, she's not going to be as inclined to fly back. She might just go sit up in a tree and just hang out there and digest her food. Carol hasn't really had the inclination to fly away at all, but there are times where she'll just like fly up into the That's so funny. Right as I say that, check out what she did. I have some food there for her. That's her breakfast, and she's ready. As you guys will learn if you follow along with this journey, and as I'm learning, is that red tails are really, really smart and they're thinkers, and Carol here is very smart and also kind of stubborn. You know, when she knows she wants something, and yeah, she tells me. It's pretty funny. She's also extremely vocal. So, while we're talking about her breakfast, hey, Carol. She knows what's in here. Hey, you have to wait. You have to wait. We feed her two things right now. I want to give her like a real mix of stuff, but we give her organic grown and organic fed quail, which was pre-killed. I buy it frozen. I have to thaw it out. It's kind of gross. It's actually really gross. But she really likes the quail. And then also a good tool to help train her, I use beef heart, which I actually got from a local butcher. I use the fillet knife to chop it into like beef jerky sized chunks, and that works really, really well. Today, I'm giving her her last round of dewormer. She had really, really bad parasites when we got her. I'm gonna go sit over here so I can get your stuff ready. Come on. Go on. Now she doesn't want to get off me. Now. As you can see, her personality's changed a lot. She's extremely stubborn and just kind of does what she wants, and as we continue to train, I'll soon have better control of her. This is why a lot of falconers choose to put that hood on them. They're just a lot easier to control when they're hooded. I kind of like her to have a little personality and think it's kind of funny. But I also don't want to get my eyes gouged out or have her, she's gonna go over there. So I'll go ahead and prepare her last round of dewormer. What I'm gonna do is basically just, I have a little needle here of dewormer, and I'm going to inject it into one of these pieces. And the rest of this syringe I'm gonna save for a little down the line, but she's had a couple courses of this now, and we haven't seen any of those worms spring back up. But check out this clip of the worms that she had when we got her. She defecated on my truck, and she was just littered with parasites. Just terrible. Close. So
I think there's still
the bird just pooped all over my truck, and you can see that she's got tons of little worms in her poop. So we're gonna have to deworm her. They're moving around on there. It's just, that's disgusting.
It is.
What? It's a gross clip. So right now, Carol's still flying to the fist almost purely just for food. Before she can free fly and really make a decision on whether she wants to come back and live with us or not, she basically needs to be flying to the glove without seeing any food or anything like that. And she needs to be able to fly to the glove without getting any food. If I have her fly to my hand without any food in it, she gets super mad at me, and then she kind of gives me some attitude. She'll go sit somewhere and she just won't come back for a while. So she's not quite ready. I'm hoping by the end of this week she will be a lot more accustomed to just flying over to my hand just to see if I have food or not, you know? And that's kind of where you want them. The way that we got her to start eating was pretty simple. You just had to like be in a really, really dark room. So you want little to no light. I used the light from the heater that was glowing red and just basically put food near her mouth until she took it. And then what you want to do is when she takes the food, you want to pull it down to her feet and try to put it by her feet. And we would make little mouse noises and touch her feet like that to try to get her to start pulling it apart. And that's a really good first step. When she puts the food under her foot on your glove and turns her head to you, basically exposing the back of her neck, that's really good signs that she's trusting you. And now it's to the point now where she'll take the food, turn all the way around backwards, and put her wings out and try to block me from taking her food, because that's what she thinks I'm gonna do. So she's not worried about me hurting her so much anymore as she is worried about me taking her food away from her. Raptors are extremely food driven and survival driven. So she's gonna do what she thinks is the easiest way to get food and shelter. So that's kind of why this whole relationship works out, because pretty soon here, especially once we start hunting, she'll realize that I make it really easy for her to hunt. So she's really getting the routine down. She understands what she needs to do in order to get a treat. Okay, so I will take you guys out to the shop where she can fly a little bit further and kind of from some different angles higher up. It's good to give her a few challenges like that before we move her outside to the Creons line. Outdoors is where the majority of all the distractions are. So, like these crazy dogs. Okay, so she's went up into the loft there and perched, and she is gonna find that spot really, really comfortable. They like to be up high and then kind of like, you know, so kind of enclosed. They don't really like wide open spots because she feels less threatened up there. She's got a good eye of anything that might threaten her. And so this is like a good example of what would happen to your bird if you let them fly outside and they weren't quite trained enough. She might not necessarily fly away because she's still considering me like an easy source of food and shelter, and we still have a good bond right now. We have a good relationship, but she's also doesn't really feel any need to come down. So we want to make sure that she's at the point where she's coming every time and we're just super good and she's extremely comfortable with me before we free fly. So yeah, this is pretty much the last hurdle that we're working through. Is when she goes up high, she's just content up there, and it's just too much work for her to come down. And she did this in a tree the other day, and it took forever to get her down. And that's something that happens pretty often. It's more difficult for her to drop through the rafters and fly down here at this than it would be a straight line. And so she thinks about it more, And if she's not motivated, she's not going to come down. Oh, good girl. Oh, you dropped it. Here. We've spent a lot of time hanging out here in the shop. A lot of time just sitting on that couch, just getting to know each other. And you pretty much just like sit there and talk to her. You say, you know, Carol's a good bird. You know, I'm not gonna hurt you. You touch her and get used to her, and she gets used to you. And it's just like this big process, but it's really taken up a lot of time. Here's some of the items that you're gonna be using if you become a falconer, if you're getting into falconry. Number one is gonna be your gauntlet. You want something that's gonna fit good, has a little ring here to tie them off to, and that is 100% necessary because their talons are stupid sharp. You're also gonna need a scale, her hood, which Carol hates. It's a really, really good, useful tool to help keep her calm. She's not a fan of putting it on, and I don't blame her. So this is like my falconry bag. I just chose to use like a leather bag, and this is more for when I start hunting. I'm sure I'll need more. A whistle, which I need to start training her to, because right now I'm just using my mouth to whistle. This is a leash. The bag I'll use to carry like tidbits and stuff like that in little pouches, or if she gets a rabbit, you can stick it in here. And that's pretty much it. You guys saw my notebook to keep track of her weight. This is for mites and lice. It's for birds. I spray it under her wings. I showed you guys her dewormer here, which I got from my sponsor, which you guys, if you do this, you might have to get it from a veterinarian. I'm not sure. This is Carol's water bottle. It's not Jack Daniels, it's water. This is a Creance line for training. We're gonna demonstrate this today, but it's basically just a long string and it's a tube and the top comes off, and I filled it full of rocks to kind of prevent her from really flying away. Inside this box, some twine for making perches, some gloves. We have some grommet pliers. These are for putting on her anklets. And then in here, you'll see these are spare anklets, some grommets. These are called flight jesses. When she starts hunting, she'll be wearing these. They're non-slitted. That way it doesn't get caught on branches or anything. If she did decide to fly away, she could still live for a while with these on her, and they would rot off eventually. Some forceps from when we first started training. And this is a punch for making these holes in the leather if you want to make your own jesses. See, she's tucked a foot. Tucking a foot, that's another really good sign. That rousing, tucking a foot, signs that she's comfortable, she's cool with me, she's cool with what we're doing, she's at a good, healthy weight, she's, you know, she's happy bird, which is really good to see. What I'm gonna do, this is just a little stand that I made for her. Pretty much everything I used to work with Carol is something I made. But we have the Creance line thing in my pocket with some rocks, and I'm just gonna start creating some distance between us and hoping that she flies to me. But it's really tough when she's outside. She's gonna be a little bit more defensive because there's other predatory birds flying around. There's dogs in the neighbors' yards. So it's just like acclimating her to the indoors, is now we have to reacclimate her to the outdoors. So this is Carol's second time flying outside since coming home. She spent time outside but not flying around, so she's doing really, really good. Yesterday was not a great day for her. There was an eagle flying over us, and I didn't see it until after she flew into the tree, and then I realized why she was flying into the tree. If you really think about it, this process is not that much different than teaching a puppy how to come. You know, you would do it inside for a while. You know, puppies that want to run off, you do it with treats, and then eventually you would just do it with no treats, and then you go to the park and you'd put them on a long leash and you'd teach them to come, and then eventually you just take the leash away. So it's really the same practice. Good girl. She's just doing really, really good. Feels so cool when she flies to you, and it feels so cool when she flies off. It's just awesome to see her fly. It's so much different than owning like a parrot or a parakeet or something that can't fly, you know? It's a really beautiful thing, and I can't wait to take her to like Capitol Forest over there, which has like really big hilltops, and just let her soar around just purely for fun. So Carol's just 8 months old. What we're going to do is get her to about 4 or 5 years old, and then we're going to try to breed her and then release her back to the wild. And when they're reintroduced to the wild, they just go right back to their wild ways. A lot of times, though, the falconers will release their bird and they'll come back after a couple seasons, and they'll like return to the falconer after months apart, and they decide that, hey, they just like it better with their falconer. So it's kind of funny how it goes. Oh, it's so cool when she flies that long distance like that.